Between Europe and Asia, economic dialogue, humanitarian missions, multi-vector cooperation and search for compromises in the world arena. How else does Kazakhstan participate in the development of the modern world? For more details, watch Kazakhstan International Vectors. Today in the program, Millenniepreneurs. Who are they and why are they more successful than their parents? Who will help the enterprising youth in Kazakhstan to receive a loan? Where should novice businessmen get their experience? People born in the 80s and 90s of the last century are usually called the generation of entrepreneurs, or simply millennials. All over the world, these people are actively opening their own business projects, and Kazakhstan is no exception. Experts argue that young people all over the world prefer to build business in retail or in the service sector. Establishing production is too difficult and costly. However, Oleg Vorogushin has been running his own shoe production in Almaty for more than 3 years and is quite successful in it. Before, I had 2 projects which were not that successful, but I studied a lot of literature on management and business. Even though I've never had any professional education in this field, it had always been interesting for me. I realized that I want to open my own business back in the university, so I read a lot of books. My advice won't be new. People read books. Everything is already there. Bumps and bruises. This is what the experience of the majority of young entrepreneurs is about. Despite financial problems and other difficulties, young people see themselves as future businessmen. Millenniepreneurs. This is the term with which an authoritative European bank has come up with in order to name entrepreneurs of a new generation. Researchers of the experts show that these people possess the better hunter mindset than their counterparts over the age of 50 years. Researchers even have already determined the average age when young people open their first business. It is about 28 years, or 27.7 years to be exact. They usually don't stop on one successful project and are often involved in several startups at a time. Therefore, by the age of 35, they already have 7 to 8 business projects. At the same time, profitability of each project is about 30%. Young people are usually much more courageous than the older generation and are not afraid to take risks. That's why they often win, experts say. Unfortunately, we are already being replaced by robots in many jobs. For example, if you go to the bank to repay a loan, you already have options to choose from. You can either go to the cashier or go to a special machine to simply put the money in. This robot even says thank you, so now each person will have a choice of the business being engaged in. Back in the 90s, entrepreneurship was the only way to provide for the family. But now, I think it will develop fast. Young entrepreneurs often don't have their own money for a startup. Problems also rise with getting a loan in a bank. Therefore, young people need help from the state in both financial and informational terms. Of course, our entrepreneurs have not yet become as proficient as their colleagues abroad. This requires a lot of work. Young entrepreneurs make mistakes because they do not know the basics of business. There are few knowledge and information. For example, they take the loan, but the rate is high and not profitable for them. Or they go into the business sphere which they did not fully understand. There is another trend in the world: support of youth entrepreneurship within corporations. This is called entrepreneurship. It is when a product or service is being developed and implemented within the company. This leaves a minimum risks for the startup. If the project fails, the businessmen don't lose work. The United Nations organizations established the age of people who are called the youth. It is up to 30 years. In Canada, almost half of all the young people are involved in entrepreneurship. In Japan, it is as much as 75%. In Kazakhstan, only a quarter of young people are involved in business, but this figure is steadily growing. Their problems are quite understandable and are the same as of the representatives of small and medium-sized businesses, like taxes, inaccessibility of loans, and shortage of staff and so on. However, experts believe that problems are usually in minds rather than in reality. Perhaps there is a problem with getting loans from banks, because I can't say that this is a fast and easy process. Sometimes you will need to spend weeks or a month for that, but the youth often has a lack of patience. They sometimes give up at that stage. Our centers for the support of entrepreneurs are opened in all cities of Kazakhstan, and there we help them to make their way to business. And this is only a small part of the assistance that the state is ready to provide to young entrepreneurs. Initiatives in the framework of international programs are being developed and implemented. In my opinion, today a universal entrepreneurial boom is happening among the startups of student entrepreneurship, and it is actively supported by the state. A lot of different programs of support are being created, and it is very pleasant because we all together are forming a whole generation of future leaders of small and medium-sized businesses. It is also pleasing that the young people who used to see their future in oil and gas, banking and legal spheres are now betting on their own business and increasingly turn to the state support for opening their own enterprise. We've conducted a survey among Kazakhstan residents trying to find out what do they think about young entrepreneurs, and that's what they responded. I trust young entrepreneurs, especially in terms of modern technologies. I think they will do it better than the older generation. They're young and full of energy. Of course I trust. Young entrepreneurs need experience, so I believe in them. It seems to me that people trust them. They are ambitious and fresh-minded. They have new ideas. They can do business connected with the internet. This is a sphere where elders might have some problems. But in other business spheres, I think they can't be trusted. Shoes made here are unique in their kind, because they are created according to individual standards for each customer. This is handmade work, and there are no shoes alike all over Kazakhstan. Shoes made by the team of Oleg Vorogushin are even painted by hands.
Интересный вариант обработки обуви – это патинаж.
We have one interesting option – to make shoes from the original unpainted skin. Further, it is being painted by hands by a hand brush. And we have another interesting option. When these shoes are being polished, many times with wax, for them to get such a mirror-like noble glare.
Благодаря чего приобретается вот такой вот зеркальный, благородный зеркальный блеск. Основная идея была в том, чтобы...
The main idea was to rebuild everything to start making not just simple shoes, but something that will inspire. First of all, I needed something that would be interesting for me personally. And then, of course, something that would inspire people. Therefore, we took the policy of making shoes exclusively.
Вот, ну и дальше завертелось.
Production is much more complicated business than, for example, sales. One should not only deal with marketing issues, but also with the technology of creating a product. But Oleg was not afraid of difficulties and decided to take a chance. He applied for a loan and the Damu Fund helped to get it on preferential terms. The next problem that the businessman faced with was connected to personnel.
The
search for specialists continues still present, so it is a constant living process. And this perhaps is the most difficult thing in our business, because during the last 20 years no one has studied the shoemaking process in a proper way. Now we have 15 people in our staff, depending on the season. We carefully searched for each and every of them. The most important thing here is, of course, to see the talent in a person. Almost all these masters studied in Europe and at times still gain skills via the internet. Getting contacts with the suppliers was also not so easy. Now all the leather in the atelier comes from Italy. The young businessman believes that today his shoes made in Almaty are no worse than the same made in Milan. Sometimes when people see the prices here, they say that our shoes are very expensive and that for that kind of money they would better buy some Italian shoes. But we confidently say that our shoes are not worse than Italian. If you take the same handmade shoes made in Italy or France, they would cost more. Therefore, we really offer a good product at a reasonable price. Marketing, promotion, or basically the way to persuade Kazakhstan consumers to buy domestic footwear rather than the European one is another headache for Oleg. However, he succeeds. New customers appear almost every day. Atelier produces 10 to 15 pairs of shoes per month, but in value it is comparable to the industrial production of several hundred pairs. By the way, the businessman sets himself the goal, in the nearest future, to launch the production of finished footwear of premium class. The youth entrepreneurship is maintained in the world at various levels. For example, in the US, there are more than 40 different state programs and other supportive initiatives. In particular, businessmen are assisted through training and business development programs. Business space at universities, corporate, venture and other funds, business angels, as well as business accelerators and incubators. The Youth Entrepreneurship Fund works in Canada. This is a not-profit organization of the federal level. Its activities are financed by the Government of Ontario and the 5 largest Canadian banks. The total number of people, and including volunteers, is about 4,000 people. State support is provided at several levels: federal, provincial and university level. Almost every university in the country has an independent association or a club of young entrepreneurs. A number of universities have also opened business schools. With the assistance of the Youth Entrepreneurship Fund, more than 17,500 new jobs have been created and more than 4,000 projects of young entrepreneurs have been financed. Brands and corporations are also not indifferent to young businessmen. World-famous founder of the Virgin Empire Richard Branson in 2004 founded the Virgin United Foundation. Its mission is the unification of entrepreneurs ready to create conditions for improving the world. Projects of the NACTA's Youth Entrepreneurship Contest are also aimed at social business. Business thinking and entrepreneurial culture are the main goals of NACTA's. The one who took part in this contest begins to look at things in a new way. This year, more than 72,000 students from more than 1,700 universities from 36 countries take part in the program around the world. I believe that the Enactus program is one of the most effective youth programs, because it is good when students receive theoretical knowledge, but when students get practical experience implementing a specific project during the year, going themselves through all the problems, this is certainly inevitable. The Enactus program helps students to implement business projects in practice and present them at the national championship. Enactus National Expo Cup is being held annually in Kazakhstan. In 2018, it was attended by more than 60 student business teams from more than 60 universities of the country. They presented more than 100 projects, including the work of the team of the Kazakhstan Technological Institute of the Emergency Situations Committee. We have implemented 3 projects during 2017-2018 academic year. The mobile application InHelp is one of them. It works on 3 basic principles, and people can learn the information and also the algorithms of the action when the fire or another emergency occurs. They can get this information with the help of this application in the form of a photo or the voice.
В виде фото, видео, а также звука.
The main feature of all Enactus projects is not just business ideas, but already implemented ready-made business projects oriented at solving social problems. It is said here that young people like no other want and most importantly are able to change the world. We implement 3 key projects. Environmental one, which is about implementation of a system of separating garbage in our city and which is also very important. Then it is a G-School project, where we deal with children in terms of robotics and engineering. And it is the 3rd project of an electronic museum, which is about organizing special exhibitions for the blind people.
За эти 10 лет нам удалось добиться многого.
During these 10 years, we managed to achieve a lot. Most importantly, we see the attention of the business community that acts in the role of mentors, and thanks to which student projects are becoming more interesting. In addition, it is very important and honorable for us that this event is holding its anniversary year of our capital, the city of Astana. We also plan to have a chance to hold the future Enactus World Cup here. The application of the World Cup in Astana has already been submitted. The first Eurasian Student Entrepreneurship Forum has already been held at the Expo site, where the participants of the Enactus program from Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Russia, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan have gathered. Our country actively supports the youth entrepreneurship at the state level. Unfortunately, the very concept of youth entrepreneurship does not yet exist in state programs, but all support measures are provided within the development of small and medium-sized businesses. Starting from the last year, about 10 billion tenge are being allocated annually for lending to startup entrepreneurs. However, existing entrepreneurs will no longer be able to obtain a loan. Only the beginner, that is, a person not having 3 years of registration at the time of applying for a loan, can apply for it.
Вы должны быть зарегистрированы не позже, вернее, 2015 года.
Privileged loans are far from all the support that young entrepreneurs receive in Kazakhstan. The Damo Foundation, the Atamika National Chamber of Entrepreneurs and the Young Entrepreneurs Association of Kazakhstan also train young people, help them dealing with documents, taxes and accounting. That is, it is not a business to a young person in Kazakhstan. He or she just needs to have an idea and desire to do it. Generation Z are people born after 1995, and in the near future they will be part of the world population. Studies show that 72% of them plan to open their own business sooner or later, and 60% would rather become entrepreneurs rather than hired employees. Almost half of them want to change the world. At the same time, most of these Zs are much more purposeful than their parents. So Kazakhstan is on the right way, developing youth entrepreneurship with a social orientation.